No training camp for fans for 2 years? That's a problem. So the Carolina Panthers confirmed today that there will be no practices for fans, something that's been a staple for the Carolina Panther fan base and really every fan base that exists in the NFL, but something that's really special to us, especially with there being two states and one team. And those practices won't take place for the 2025 and 2026 season. Now, I understand the reason behind why this is happening. That's pretty evident, right? They're going to do stadium upgrades. It was approved by the city. And of course, you don't want a bunch of fans being in the way of the potential of being hurt or delaying progress on a project that you've started that's going to ultimately be for fans and, the fan experience. But I do have a problem with this. And the big problem I have with it is the fact that the training camp that was a staple in the Carolinas for the better part of 20 years in Spartanburg, South Carolina, a city who was home to one of the most amazing times that you could have if you're a Panther fan over the summertime, right? So I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina. Many of you know that. And we used to have a festival called Bell Share, right? And it was kind of one of those things that was like an end of the summer, like you knew it was time to get ready to go back to school. You got to see all your friends, catch up on what you did during the summer, fresh swag, all that kind of stuff. Well, training camp for the Carolina Panthers was a lot like that, right? Spartanburg, South Carolina, Wofford College. You had a lot of the same kind of feelings, right? Nostalgic feelings of, it was amazing to be able to see like the new players that were coming in, people that were drafted, all the videos that we would start seeing over the years, especially when, social media became a huge thing, X became a huge thing, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And you would see the videos that were being posted of monster plays, some of the plays from Bryce early on, or some of the other guys that we would draft, and big time catches, training camp fights, things like that were all part of the Carolina Panther lexicon throughout that process and that time. And like I said, I get it. I do understand that this is a project that's going to be for the fans ultimately. But the reason I have the problem with it is because it could have been planned so much better. Hey, what's up, guys? It's John Farmer. And what's the one thing that causes more frustrations for sports fans while watching your favorite game? Penalties. These flags have the ability to alter the outcome of games, keeping you out of the playoffs, or possibly worse, winning a Super Bowl, which leaves us feeling helpless and voiceless. Well, not any longer. Introducing Penalty Verdict, the ultimate penalty voting experience. With Penalty Verdict, you can vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. Engage with a community of football fans who desire fair play and accountability, and unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling referees, players, and teams. Penalty Verdict is in the developmental stages and would love to hear from you. What features would you like to see on the app for the upcoming football season? Make sure to go to penaltyverdict.com, sign up to join the mailing list, and give your information and your feedback for the upcoming football season. Look, this is going to be an absolutely revolutionary app for us to be able to vote in real time. I love this. Penaltyverdict.com, join the waiting list, wait for the revolution to begin. Now, I don't want to pretend to know the reason behind why David Tepper made the move to Charlotte so abruptly, but when I look back at the pattern of behavior, when you see the situation that happened in Rock Hill with the facility that was supposed to be built that now just lies in, just kind of sitting there, right? I don't even know what they're doing with that at this point. Haven't really checked up on it to, see for sure. But moves like that, rumored moves like covering the picture of Jerry Richardson at Wofford College as you walk into the stadium. Things that we've seen from the history of the past of, buying a home from someone that didn't give you a job and flattening it and building a bigger home or whatever. It just seems like a lot of decisions. And we've seen this also with the coaching staff. Now, I want to give him some credit because we've seen him kind of slow down, kind of take a step back. I don't ever think personally that David Tepper was ever the hands-on kind of owner of in the Jerry Jones persuasion. But I do believe that his step back has been not to make egregiously impulsive decisions, firing coach after coach after coach, right? And it seems to me that this is one of those moves that is kind of extremely impulsive that leads to other people being affected, not necessarily you, right? Now, we know that he's not had the greatest rapport with fans over the years, but I believe that that started to improve. This is one of those times that you step back a bit because maybe you saw this coming, and I do think it's interesting when they decided to release the story right before the draft. So we let the draft like, hey, we're not going to have training camp this year. You know, the story's probably going to rile back up again after the draft is over and everything like that once it's fresh in people's mind, especially the closer we get to training camp. But, like, it just feels to me like this is put out because it's like, hey, once you see all these great players we draft, like, oh, man, you're going to be so excited about everything we have moving forward as far as the fan base is concerned. And you might be right in that. You may be right in that. But for the short term, man, this is a blind spot. Huge blind spot. Now, what I would hope, and I highly doubt this will happen, but what I would hope is that they would find some way outside of just FanFest to maybe in the 2026 season. Obviously, there's already rumored to be training camp practice with the Browns this year. So they probably got all their plans laid out for 2025, so we can pretty much scrap that. But for the 2026 season, that they would at least try to maybe possibly accommodate to the fan perspective and have training camp, say, in Wofford again, or maybe a neighboring college, UNC Charlotte, wherever, right? Now, UNC Charlotte might be a little, weird because they do have a football team now, so it'll be a little, conflict of opportunity and interest. But to try to do something, like I said, this training camp is a way for players and fans to connect. I mean, we even saw today in the press conference, Derek Brown, who was surprised, by the way, when he found out himself about the training camp situation.
Any thoughts on just, being out there in camp and not having those fans be around?
That's news, but it's one of those things that we love our fans, man. We got great fans, and it's unfortunate, but I mean, I hope that we're still going to do things like FanFest and all that stuff. So I mean, we'll have that interaction with them, and going forward, I mean, when the indoor gets done, I hope to be around to see it. So we'd be able to have those moments again.
So yes, again, I say this is one of those situations that's a blind spot. This is something that I feel like is impulsive and probably could have waited to happen, or you work out something with Wofford while this is being built over here, and then everything works out perfectly. Now, for the team themselves, I haven't heard a lot of feedback for how the team feels as far as like the difference between going to Wofford versus going to, Charlotte and being so close to proximity. Few comments here and there about, yeah, it's easier to be able to, go home, don't necessarily have to stay on facility and things like that. But at the same time, like I also heard a lot of stories over the years from players about the bonding experience of going back to like old school college dorms, things like that, and being together and like really, formulating a group, developing a group, right? For a team, to me, and I tweeted this earlier today, for a team that has been devoid and been so underperforming for so many years, the thing that you want to do is keep your fan base. You don't necessarily have to coddle the fan base, right? You can still make your decisions that you want to make. But I think this is one of those decisions that you want to try to keep, things kind of smoothed out a lot better than it is because of just how much mediocrity has existed and how much people like myself and others have rode for this team, pause, for many, many years. And we'll continue to do so. It's still keep pounding to the end. But let me know what you think. We're a day away from the draft. I'm very excited. I'm going to possibly be going live tomorrow around 7:45, but I may change my mind on that, may want to just enjoy the draft with my family. But either way, I did my latest mock draft, the final mock draft. If you want to check that out, click this video right here. You can check that out. I know it wasn't the most popular mock draft ever, but it is a mock draft nonetheless. My final thoughts on what I feel like the Panthers could and maybe possibly should do in some situations, maybe not so much in others. But either way, either watch that or one of the videos that YouTube recommends. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm John Farmer from the One Carolina Show, y'all. Keep pounding.